Hey folks, today is Wednesday, August 20th. It is 6:30 p.m. and I'm here in Yorkville on Cumberland Street. And that is a look to the east. And I had intended on walking down what used to be an open alleyway right here, but at some point over the last year or so it's been blocked off. Now needs security access to get in there, but this used to connect Cumberland Street down to Bloor Street West. Oh well, it's not like I don't have a million other options. And for this one I'm going to be heading down to Charles Street. And I'll be taking a walk from west to east along most of Charles Street. I'll be skipping the first few blocks. But we'll be crossing over to the east side of downtown at some point. Well, that point would be right at Yonge Street.
Wednesday?
There's a lineup to get into Hemingway's. Maybe there's some kind of party or event going on. This is Yorkville Village. I won't be here for very long on this. I just did a video through Yorkville about a week ago. It's a pretty cool day. It's about 18 or 19 degrees Celsius, and as you can see, it's overcast. I don't think it's really rained today, but the sky has been threatening rain. There's a good view at a very slender high-rise taking shape. This laneway hasn't been closed off. And I chose this route because it's been a few years since I've done a walk along Charles Street.
I'm not sure. Was anyone?
We'll cross the street south and maybe head over to St. Thomas Street. As Charles Street runs for about 1.6 kilometers just south of Bloor. I think that's about a mile. You'll notice a lot of high-end and luxury retailers along this stretch of Bloor. right, I've been tempted. Let's cut through here. That porta potty is apparently in use. And I think that right there is part of the old Windsor Arms Hotel. Or it might be here on the left. This actually looks a little more like it. But St. Thomas Street straight ahead, dates back to the mid-19th century. That was back when Yorkville here was still very much a separate village. There's Enigma, a Michelin star restaurant. There is the rather elegant looking Windsor Arms Hotel. It's a beautiful old building. That opened back in 1927. I think you would call that neo-Gothic. See if we can get a better view of it. It was known for hosting Toronto International Film Festival parties back when TIFF used to be centered around the Yorkville neighborhood. And I think they still hold a high tea service there. But historically, this was a residential street. Well, I guess it still mostly is. Lined by Victorian-style homes. I've always really liked this condo building here. That would be 1 St. Thomas. And here we go, Charles Street. Well, this is Charles Street West, as it's west of Yonge. When we get to Yonge, we'll be on Charles Street East, or to the other side of it. And it terminates just west of here at Queen's Park. And there's some University of Toronto buildings along that way. Victoria University. I think Burwash Hall is just over there, as well as the Isabel Bader Theater. Let's go on the other side of the street, maybe. Get a nicer view of 1 St. Thomas. And no doubt that's a insanely expensive condo. On the right is part of Kintore College. Most of the University of Toronto is on the west side of Queen's Park, but the Victoria College campus is on the east side. I think those are U of T buildings as well. We've got these condo townhomes as well that are attached to 1 St. Thomas. It's just a stunning development. And this is Bay Street coming up. Apparently, Charles Street was named after Charles William Bolton, who lived between 1797 and I think 1833. Let's cross over to the other side since there's construction hoarding on the south side. The son of the very prominent Mr. and Mrs. Bolton. They were very influential in the early days of Toronto back in the 1700s, or I guess York, as it would have been called back then. And it's a street that seems to take on a very different character pretty much every block you go. It went from tree-lined with Victorian-style homes to being a lot more wide open, with this monument to brutalism on the left. That's the 55-story Manulife Center, or rather 51-story. At one point, it was believed to be the tallest residential building in the city. That was built in the early 70s. It was a mixed-use mega complex. And up on the top floor, there used to be a place called Panorama. You get a fantastic south-facing view of the skyline. I think it's now a sushi restaurant, if I'm not mistaken. There's a movie theater in there, a supermarket, an eataly, a Bloor Radio. There's one of my favorite, or at least favorite value restaurants in the city, the Economy House. It can be tough to get a table in there. And it looks like there's a new Vietnamese restaurant moving in next door. Viet Hut Express. Beef okonomiyaki, $14.50. Chicken, $12.99. Okonomiyaki is a dish that comes from Osaka. Well, there's Osaka style and Hiroshima style.
그러면은 아예 3명으로
A Korean bar, Jumak. 8 Mile Detroit style pizza. And a 24-hour 7 West cafe. And across the street, it's a very ugly apartment building. And where Pearl Yorkville is, used to be a second cup. I remember going in there and they had a used video game store in that complex. And now we're at Yonge Street. There's never a dull moment along here. That is Constantine at the Andor House.
She was basically trying to get him to.
I believe that's the name of the restaurant. That opened in 1955 as a hotel and apartment complex. Wave and let that driver through. I was just kind of standing here their way anyways. I think rooms go for about $300-400 Canadian in there. There's the George Hislop Park, one of a series of 3 linear parks. They're very beautifully done, but you could say there's a bit of riffraff going on in these parks. Just on the right here is a place called Sanctuary. That's a church and community outreach center. Across the street we have a gorgeous old 3-story walk-up. This part of Charles Street has become condos galore. Over the past decade or so, there's just been an explosion of development along here.
Do you know where the real beauty store is?
And this was mostly lined with Victorian and Edwardian style homes. I see something kind of neat in this condo complex at 50 Charles Street. I thought there was a big water feature in here or something, but it's just a puddle of water. there's a condo project just on the left here. It's been a construction eyesore for as long as I've been doing this channel. They've been preserving the facade of these old homes. And I think this is a 47-story condo that has risen up, and this looks like it's finally going to be ready for some proper landscaping at some point in the somewhat near future. That's an example of the type of homes that used to line the street. Hey, there's a cop with its lights on. Ooh. How did I not notice that? How does that even happen? Well, unfortunately for that driver, it's not a cyclist they hit. If it were a cyclist, they'd get off with no charges, scot-free, but that sucks. And there is a dine-in-the-dark restaurant experience, Noir. I've heard from one person who ate there, and they said they ended up with stains all over their clothes. Crazy. Cop just chilling in his car. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the silver car driver was at fault here. This whole area has historically been a wealthy one. And with the price of new Toronto condos, that may be its future reality once more. There's an eyesore. Just a big utility building. Empty row of bike shares. I see a plaque on this property. The chief librarian, 1842 to 1908, lived in a house on this site from 1886 to 1906. Well, Church Street terminates a block in that direction, but the explorer in me wants to go up this way. Oh, I think that's the end of Hayden Street here. Let's see if we can connect up to Bloor Street. I doubt I can through here. Nope. Oh, there we go. There's the old Manufacturer's Life Insurance building on the north side of Bloor. I think this is St. Paul's. Alright, I'm just going to head over towards Bloor-Yonge Station. I kind of really dig the lighting today. This is going west on the south side of Bloor Street, east. The Roasted Nut Nuttery and Cafe, moving in where the Press Cafe couldn't cut it. And there used to be a pub here, the neat outdoor patio, but due to the expansion of Bloor-Yonge Station, it is no longer. Metrolinx claims another victim. waiting to see what goes into where Hudson's Bay used to be. Well, that store closed a few years before the chain did. All right, I'm gonna head into the station here. So I hope you enjoyed this one. From Yorkville through a lot of Charles Street. And then up to Bloor Street. Looking up at One Bloor East on the left and the still rising One Bloor West on the right. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. If you wish to support what I do, there's links to my Patreon and YouTube channel membership down in the description. I've got an Instagram account at Johnny Strides, and there is a super thanks button appearing down below if you wish to say thanks that way. Anywho, thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Yoink!